Alexi Lalas, nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
What do you think about this World Cup in 3 countries, 48 teams, different World Cup?
When I think about the 26th World Cup from an American perspective and with our friends to the North Canada and our friends to the South of Mexico, I think about opportunity. I think about the power of a World Cup. And if you use it correctly, in the moment, it can be an incredible celebration, but you can also leave a legacy. And, I am sitting here in this seat because of a World Cup. In 1994, many, many years ago, I lived that power. And it can change an individual, it can change a sport, it can change a country. But you have to be prepared, and you have to use it on and off the field. And I think these 3 countries in Mexico, Canada, and the United States, I think they're ready, I think they're excited, and I think that they will use it to benefit not just in the moment, but for many years to come.
In your case, it's very important because before and after the World Cup on 94, it's a different place for the U.S. soccer team because you do a great World Cup in 94.
Yeah, so when you think about World Cups, Mexico certainly has an incredible history in hosting World Cups. The United States also, men's and women's, and even Canada with women's and youth World Cups. And so all of these countries have a history when it comes to soccer. But, I think about what the landscape was in 1994 when we hosted it, and it's completely different. It is fundamentally changed for the better. And now we have facilities, stadiums, we have training facilities, we have better coaching, we have better refereeing, we have better organization, we have more people playing, we have leagues, men's and women's leagues, we have multiple World Cups that we have hosted. So when the world comes back to visit the United States in 2026, they are coming back to a vastly changed landscape. And I think they're going to be impressed and excited because America is a soccer country. Don't let anybody tell you that it isn't. Yes, it's a little different and unique given our history and the realities that we have. But I think that leaning into that unique part of it creates something special. And I think if we celebrate that, it can be an incredibly successful World Cup.
What was your experience playing in your country a World Cup with all the people with the U.S. soccer team? What means that?
When you host a World Cup and you're a player playing for the home team, it's an incredible honor, obviously, but there's also an incredible responsibility. And I think it depends on how you look at it. You can look at it as a burden, or you can look at it as a real opportunity, because if you grab a hold of it, you can change the way that people think about you individually, but also the way they think about the sport. And so I remember in 1994, yes, there was pressure to do well because we didn't want to screw up soccer. But there was also, I think we all looked at it as opportunity, and that it was a positive experience, and that it did change the way that we think about soccer in the United States was because of our mentality and the way that we went about. And we said, we have nothing to lose. And if we do good things, it can last not just our career, but well beyond our lifetime.
But in that time, you have Hispanic Americans a lot in your team. Right now, you have a lot of North American players. That the legacy that what happened in 94 to today.
So when I think about the United States, and one of the reasons why it has the opportunity to host what I think is going to be the greatest World Cup ever in 2026 is our incredible diversity that we have in the United States. And when I think about soccer, it's different than somebody in another state or another area of the country thinks about the game. And that's a good thing. We play different styles. We think about the game. Sometimes that makes it difficult for a national team, for everybody to think about the same things. But as our country, because we think about the game in so many different ways, I think it opens it up to more players. And, certainly the relationship that we have and the connection that we have with Canada, but even maybe more so in terms of the historic soccer value, the relationship and the connection that we have with Mexico, and the language and the culture and the politics and all of the kind of stuff. We are always connected and intertwined. And from a soccer perspective, it means that we can use that, and we can use the incredible talent that we have and the incredible talented Americans that we have. and we can use some of the history that they have and the heritage that Americans have. And whether it's being from Mexico, whether it's being from Canada, whether it's being from Greece, whether it's being from Italy, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, if you're an American, you have the opportunity to do things on the field. And if you do well, you have the opportunity to change the way we think about ourselves and the way the rest of the world thinks about us.
You opened the door to the American players in Europe when you was in Italy. Right now, the US have more players than Mexico in Europe. Why?
I think it's by design. I think we thought about getting better, not just individually, but getting better in terms of the perception. And we recognize that the credibility that comes with playing in Europe and the reality of playing in some of these great leagues can help us. And I think Major League Soccer, but I think much more the way that we thought about doing things changed the perception internally and the dreams that players had, but also realizing those dreams. You have to show a pathway, and then you also have to prove that these are players of quality, so that when Europe is looking, and they're looking at different markets, that they look at the United States and say, I know I'm going to get a good player. I'm going to get a player that works hard on the field, that wants to learn and wants to grow, that doesn't cost ridiculous amounts of money, and the market. Look how big the market is. And we haven't even tapped even close to all of it. So I think there's a recognition that there is incredible talent that exists in the United States. We've seen some of it, but we still have so much more. And if they are given opportunities, then I think that they can do well, whether it's going to Europe or whether it's playing domestically.
The Messi arrival to the MLS changed the soccer in the United States?
So Messi arriving, I think, is going to be looked back in time as one of those pivotal and seminal moments, in the same way that we look at when Pele came to the NASL, same way that we look at when we used the 94 World Cup to create MLS in 96, the same way that when Beckham came. When Messi comes, he brings credibility. When Messi comes, he expands the audience or the potential audience, because you're looking at arguably the greatest player ever to play the game, and he chose to come to the United States. He chose to come to MLS. He chose to come to Inter Miami. And yes, it's good business because everybody wants to see, the greatest player ever to play the game.
Sure.
But I also think that when we think about Messi, yes, whatever time he's going to spend, it's going to end. So it's the legacy, and what does he leave? Because we are always trying to get more people into the soccer tent, right? And we know that people come in and not everybody stays, but that's okay. But maybe more people stay. And when you have Messi, many, many people come into the tent. And some may leave, but a lot will stay. And that represents growth. So you use Messi for what he can do. Not just the kicking of the ball and what he does, the magic on the field, but the credibility that he brings. And maybe other players now think, you know what? Messi went and played in the United States. Messi went and played in MLS. Maybe I can go do that. Maybe I should go do that. And it makes Messi gives permission for many other players to come.
Your rivalry with Mexico?
When they offered me the opportunity to come down to Monterrey to play in this game, legends of the rest of the world versus legends of Mexico, I said, listen, I'm 54 years old, okay? But
you look more younger.
Well, I'm trying. I drink a lot of water and tequila. And I said, an opportunity to play against Mexico for American, I'm here. Not just the opportunity to play, the opportunity to beat Mexico.
Yeah.
So I said, where do I go? I will be there, no problem. So this is a great honor, and I'm excited about not just the game. I'm excited to meet all the different players, and I'm also excited to celebrate, this host city that is Monterrey. Because when you think about Mexico, it's my first time in Monterrey. I've been to Mexico so many times.
Yes, in Mexico City, you play in the
Mexico City and Guadalajara and stuff like that, but never to Monterrey. And I'm only here, a few short hours, but already coming in the beautiful mountains and what it is. So I'm really excited because Monterrey is going to use the power of the World Cup in less than 2 years for that opportunity to host. And hopefully we will see players, we will see a community, we will see a city, and we will see a country use that moment.
You think that in this moment US is better than Mexico?
Oh, 100%. It's not even a question. Yeah.
Because with the Nations League that wins to time and something of that, here the people say in Mexico that the U.S. soccer, it will be better than Mexico the next few years.
Look, I think that the United States right now is above Mexico. The interesting thing right now is where do you put Canada? Because they've come on strong. I still think the United States in CONCACAF right now is number one, and certainly over Mexico. But I think, as you mentioned, the way that we are looking at our soccer right now in Mexico and in the United States, it's not a fun moment. And I think that there is a lot of worry about what this Mexico team this selection is going to be, and what the U.S. team is going to be. But again, you have this opportunity, and I've played against Mexico, and I can scream and yell about them, but I do have a respect for the way that when that whistle blows, especially in a World Cup, they want to do well, and they want to represent this country. And there is a responsibility that I think the Mexican players have. And sometimes when you're playing in a World Cup, especially a home World Cup, it can change things, and you can find some magic. And I hope that Mexico finds some magic and can return and can earn the trust and the respect and the love and the support of the Mexican soccer fan going forward, because that's important. And maybe it only happens in the World Cup, but I hope it happens at the World Cup, just not against the U.S.
I was living a lot of time in the United States, and I see something. The mentality of the people in the U.S. is really different than the mentality in Mexico.
What does that mean? What do you mean? What's different?
The mentality that you like to win every time to win, to prepare, the discipline and everything.
So in the United States, we are accustomed to being number one. We are accustomed to winning. And when we're not, we often ask, well, why? And how do we change it? And you can call it American exceptionalism, you can call it ego, you can call it arrogance, it doesn't matter. But I feel that it's what has made us great and made us the greatest country in the world. But you have to be able to harness that. You have to be able to use it. You have to be able to direct it, because if you don't, it can move in some different ways. When it comes to soccer, we're not the best in the world, and we haven't been the best in the world. But if you look at the progress that we have made, just since 1994, 30 years, it's amazing how far we have come on and off the field. But as Americans, sometimes we look and we say, no, but we're still not there yet. And yes, we're not there yet. But sometimes you have to kick yourself for what you haven't done or what you aren't. But also sometimes you have to pat yourself on the back and say, hey, you have come a long way. And so I'm incredibly proud of where we are, but I'm not satisfied.
No, you'll never be satisfied. You are a competitor.
Yeah.
Finally, what do you think about the Leagues Cup and the rivalry between MLS and Mexican League also in the CONCACAF Championship?
So the connection and I think the future for soccer and professional soccer relative to Major League Soccer and Liga MX is really interesting. And I think from a business perspective and a competitive perspective, our futures are linked. And that's a good thing, because I think we can be stronger if and when we become united. We come and think about things very differently at times, and we certainly have a very different history. But I think Liga MX recognizes and respects that they need MLS, and I think MLS recognizes and respects that they need Liga MX.
We're neighborhoods.
Exactly. But you look at the numbers and you look at the viewers when it comes to Liga MX in the United States. It's the number one league in the United States for soccer viewers, right? That's what MLS wants to be. When you're over in Liga MX and you're looking at MLS, you look at the business, you look at the infrastructure, you look at the expansion, you look at the organization, you look at the billionaire owners and all that kind of stuff. That's a group that you want to be associated with. So I think we can help each other grow and then grow the sport going forward.
One personal question, you still with the guitar or
Of course,
not?
Yes.
Rock and roll?
Of course, there's nothing else. I mean, I'm older now, so but I can still smash a guitar and run around and go crazy a little bit. Yeah, I haven't kicked the ball professionally in now over 20 years, but I still make a living in the game, so I'm very proud about that. But while the game goes away, the music never goes away. I always have my guitars, and I'm in studios and doing all that kind of stuff. And I keep putting out music for the 3 fans that I have, including my mom. Well, sometimes my mom.
Thank you, Alexi. Nice
Thank
to meet
you. Thank you. It's great to see you.